What's going on, guys? We're back here on Pokemon Showdown to do more team building since my previous team building video, the one yesterday, got such good reception. I decided to do another one for my main tier, which is UU. And I realized I didn't have many original solid teams that I could use for high level play. I had maybe like one or two solid teams. The rest of them were either for Research Week or they were teams that were outdated. So I decided to just take a core from the forums. I found this one, I thought that was really cool. I changed up the sets a little bit just to my liking, to my preference. And the core is Snorlax and Krookodile with Pursuit. So any ghost types that wall me get Pursuit trapped by Krookodile. And this used to be Choice Scarf, but I decided to just make it offensive with Stealth Rock and Dread Plate, since I already outspeed the most relevant ghost types, which are the Blade and Chandelure. You're not seeing as much Scarf Chandelure nowadays either, and I can take two Shadow Balls pretty easily anyway. And so that basically paves the way for Snorlax to sweep. And Krookodile also wears down stuff like Swampert and Mega Aggron, though anything that can take hits from Krookodile and Pseudo Haze Snorlax is a threat. And of course we have the shared weakness to fighting, so we're going to keep that in mind as we're doing our team building. So I guess something that's good to start out with is, of course, a good fighting resist, a reliable fighting resist. We could also start looking at Mega Pokemon for this team, though not really many come to mind right away. Perhaps that'll come later. But in terms of fighting resistances, we've got quite a few options. The main ones I was thinking of were Crobat, Salamence, and Cresselia. Cresselia is a really solid check to fighting, but I think I'm going to go with Crobat because I consider Crobat to be like a universal fighting check. It also gives me a solid check to Beedrill because that kind of screws us over right now. Just U-turning out of everything. And because unlike Cresselia, Crobat can actually beat Heracross, which is a really huge threat right now. So Crobat's definitely an A+ Pokemon in general and for this team. And I might just use a more defensive set since I'm not really lacking in strong physical attackers, and I want to be able to take hits better from the likes of Beedrill. I could even go with an acrobatic set that doesn't use Black Sludge. That way I'm not taking as much damage from knockoff. But for now, I think I'll go with the Black Sludge set, actually. And I don't actually need to run that much speed in order to outspeed what is necessary, so I just run... Actually, I'll run 248. That way I hit a Stealth Rock number, 48 defense. So, and then the 383 speed is a benchmark, so... And of course, Infiltrator. So that's looking pretty solid. I can also use this to get rid of hazards. So, I can use Defog, Brave Bird. Roost is pretty mandatory. And I guess the last move is a toss-up between U-turn and Taunt. Kind of leaning towards U-turn though, because who knows what teammates can complement this later. Now for the next teammate. So I'm still weak to stuff like Swampert that can take hits from basically anything on my team. Like Mega Aggron takes... Like, Mega Aggron is so tanky. It takes those Earthquakes surprisingly well. Got the fighting weakness covered. Although, I mean, Crobat's not the most... like, the set we have here is a little bit passive. Brave Bird's not going to be hitting quite as hard, but it still does a lot of work against offensive teams. Volturn is kind of screwing us right now, and so is... and like bulky waters in general that can Pseudo Haze, like Suicune, Swampert, and Polion, all of those. And we still don't have like an actual switch in to Chandelure that could actually hurt it. So I think a good water type would be nice for our next choice. A decent partner for what we have so far. I think Mega Blastoise would actually be a pretty good choice in the Mega slot. It takes care of a lot of the physical walls that Snorlax has trouble getting past even without Krookodile's assistance. I mean, even with Krookodile's assistance. It's another pretty decent check to Chandelure. I guess a soft check, and it can switch into Fire Blast, even if they're choice specs. And I can use Defog over Rapid Spin to keep my own hazard. So we might actually replace Crobat here in a second. I already have another Pokemon in mind for this. So Aura Sphere, and for the sake of wall breaking, I think I'm gonna go with Hydro Pump. And so I'm actually gonna run quite a bit of speed just to. I really want to outspeed the like Nidoqueen, like the offensive versions, and 204 I think is a really decent benchmark for that. And I can just invest the rest in HP. Although I suppose I have Snorlax for Nidoqueen and checking all of that. Like, it pretty much checks any physical attacker. It's a pretty insane Pokemon. So perhaps I'll change these EVs later. And so, sorry guys, I need to clear my throat, but and we could just keep Crobat actually. We don't necessarily have to use U-turn, we could also just use Taunt. So it'll be Brave Bird, Roost, U-turn, Taunt. But another really cool Pokemon that I had in mind, and it'll especially help us against really fat teams, is Dragalge. And Dragalge also synergizes pretty well with Mega Blastoise because this can beat Florges, and it can beat Suicune. Because right now, Calm Mind Roar Suicune is a little bit threatening. So we can run Black, and it's also a really cool fighting resist. And even without any like investment, we can definitely do some damage to offensive teams thanks to adaptability. And I think we needed like I think it was 84 special attack EVs to 2-hit KO the standard Florges with Sludge Wave. And definitely Relax since we're going to be using Dragon Tail to Pseudo Haze. And we get Toxic Spikes, which is really nice. So Draco Meteor does a lot of damage to offensive, like those frail offensive Pokemon, like for example, Alligator, which is looking to be quite a threat. And actually, yeah, I think I'm gonna run less speed on this because I already have like a counter to Nidoking and Nidoqueen. So with this spread, I get a lot more bulk to handle stuff like Feraligatr and be a good soft check to that. Yeah, like 210 is the other benchmark that we hit. And do I really need Hydro Pump? I guess I'm running Hydro Pump also because Scald kind of conflicts with Toxic Spikes, and more power is never really bad. It'll force some special walls to recover, and that will give me a free turn to switch out. And Dragalge is also a pretty decent switch into Chandelure since it has quite high special defense, even uninvested. And once again, it beats fairy types and all of that, so it has good synergy with Krookodile. So I guess for the next slot, our team as it is pretty damn slow. We're definitely going to want something faster to beat offense. So yeah, Chandelure could definitely work out. A nice Choice Scarf set. I'm usually partial to the Sub CM and Choice Specs, and I think Choice Scarf is actually the worst set. But for this particular team, I like Choice Scarf a lot better. And it's a really good check to stuff like SD Lucario, which actually poses a really huge threat since Dragalge can't touch it. So I don't want to be missing with Fire Blast. I mean, I guess the fire power, no pun intended, a Fire Blast is really cool. If I start missing like crazy, then I'll just go back to Flamethrower. And like Shadow Ball is also a really stable stab attack, which kind of opens up the path to using Fire Blast. Alright, so yeah, I like this setup. So, and since the reason I'm using Scarf is because our team as a whole is rather slow, and Choice Scarf helps me against offensive mons like, say, Mega Aerodactyl, even though I don't even know if I outspeed it, which is, I don't think I outspeed Mega Aerodactyl with, I think I missed out on it by 1 point, which is just awful, but I guess I'll deal with it. It's not like this team can't take hits from Aerodactyl to begin with. So now for the last mon. I didn't consider this, but another option that could be used over Trick on the Chandelure is Memento, which could actually be really cool in helping Snorlax set up on Pokemon that it would otherwise have trouble setting up on, like for example Salamence, or I guess Mega Aerodactyl to an extent. I don't know how well it takes those stone edges, but I also like Trick because it helps cripple a lot of the Pokemon that would typically Pseudo Haze against this team. So I think I've decided. In the last slot, I think we could really use a Cleric on this type of balanced team because particularly Dragalge and Blastoise really appreciate the Wish support to be able to check what they need to check effectively. And Florges gives us yet another switch into fighting types, and it gives us a switch into Hydreigon, which Chandelure really appreciates. So I think that's going to be our last option. In the end, we didn't turn up with an actual resistance to ground, which is problematic when we're facing stuff like Choice Banded Krookodile. But at the same time, Florges beats Krookodile with Moonblast, and since Krookodile is the only relevant like offensive ground type in the tier, like, I guess like a Swampert to an extent. But that's about it. So I think this can work. I think the standard spread is just about right for this team. And I can just use Wish. And I like Protect to scout against other choice users. Particularly other Chandelure that might try to use Trick. Or the aforementioned Krookodile. So Aromatherapy and Moonblast, and I think this is a solid team. Yeah. Nice and solid, bulky offense. I could have easily just slapped on a Crobat here, but I wanted to use something that was less standard and that would help me take down bulkier teams a lot easier. And like the combination of Toxic Spikes and Stealth Rock go great with the rapid spinning support of Blastoise. And I think I might just go with Water Pulse in the end. People usually use Scald or Hydro Pump, but the Hex is funny. And it's an accurate, strong option that won't conflict really with my Toxic Spikes. Like the occasional burn is nice, but the extra power, like if I'm using Water Pulse, I may as well use Scald, right? But I guess it's up to personal preference. And Blastoise is really bulky and it's really strong, and it can take down a lot of the common offensive threats like Mega Aerodactyl. I could use Ice Beam for Salamence, but I think we take on Salamence rather well with Florges alone. And it's not like it's not like it can switch into a Water Stab very well. Yeah, I think I'll just go with Hydro Pump. So in the end, our team consisted of Curselax, Krookodile, Dragalge with T-Spikes, offensive Blastoise, Choice Scarf Chandelure, and the standard Florges. I think this team could work really well. It's still up to testing to see whether I need to make any changes or not, but I really like how this team works with its hazard control. Chandelure is a really good spin blocker. Blastoise can rapid spin other hazards without getting rid of our own. And then that just works really well in tandem with Toxic Spikes and Stealth Rock to help Snorlax clean up late in the game. So yeah, that was the team. Thank you for joining us, and if you liked this video, go ahead and like and subscribe.